What's up, everybody? This is your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT. We are live with another amazing The Doc Chat Show. Check us out. Check out the new logo. We official out here, baby. I'm telling you, we are rocking and rolling. And I'm telling you right now, I got the big time guy here, Dr. Jonathan Solomon. I'm telling you, find it not strange. We are on the 14th episode. Maybe we show some love tonight to 1914 and Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. They are in the house today. We appreciate it so much. So, without further ado, if you are here today checking out the dot chat, let us know you are checking us out today. Let us know what doctorate program you graduated from. Let us know what doctorate program you're in. But holla at us today in the comments. Show this brother some love. So let me go ahead and introduce Dr. Jonathan Solomon. Thank you for coming on the doc chat. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate the intro or the segue into the intro, an acknowledgement of Phi Beta Sigma for the 14th episode. You may see something over my shoulders there representing. But yeah, introduction, Jonathan Solomon, Dr. Jonathan Solomon, originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and I've lived a lot of different places, but Cleveland is home. Currently based in St. Louis. I've been in the St. Louis metro area since 2018, and so that is home for me. My background started off in higher ed on a traditional student affairs trajectory, and started off as a resident director, moved all the way up, and recently, about a year and a half ago to 2 years, transitioned to the ed tech industry. And so I'm still working higher ed adjacent, and so that's something that I really enjoyed. I received my bachelor's degree, Bachelor's of Business Administration from Langston University in Oklahoma, Oklahoma's only HBCU, so extremely proud graduate of LU. Master's in Higher Education Student Affairs from the University of Oklahoma, OU, and then I received my PhD in Educational Administration with an emphasis in higher education leadership from Indiana State University. So excited to be here, excited to answer questions and have a conversation tonight.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dr. Rise, appreciate you for checking in, my good Kappa brother. We appreciate you doing great work down south. We appreciate the work you are doing, my friend. We love you over there. Now, we're going to jump right into the conversation because as you see, this brother's rolling solo today, but he's going to come with some heavy hidden tips for you. So let's jump right in. What made you, especially that life in Oklahoma, you came on up to Indiana. What made you say it's time for me to go get this doctorate degree?
Yeah, so I remember fondly the moment that I decided that I wanted to pursue a doctorate degree. And so after finishing my master's degree, I was engulfed in the field of higher ed, was doing good work. After graduating from OU, I moved up to Detroit and took a role at Wayne State University. And it was during that time I got the opportunity to go to NASPA in New Orleans. And, as someone who was new in the field, I had heard a lot about the Black Male Summit. And I knew that I wanted to be in that space. And so participated in the Black Male Summit at NASPA in New Orleans. And I think just being in a space with so many Black doctors, folks who were interested in pursuing doctoral degrees, was really eye-opening for me. And so it was my first time being in that sort of space. And all I recall is other Black men in the field talking about the importance of Black men pursuing a terminal degree, getting a doctorate, and finding programs and making connections while in that space. And I think that really inspired me. The doctorate wasn't necessarily something that at that point I told myself that I had to do. It was something I thought I would be interested in the future, but that was what lit the fire under me, just being in that space and sitting at the table with Black PhDs. I knew at that moment that this was something that I wanted to pursue, not only for myself, but representing my family. As a first-year student, I wanted to go all the way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. They're showing you love, much respect for sure for the incredible work that you're doing. We appreciate it. And Mrs. Brandy said her husband's in the same program. Okay, so you watching the right program because this brother gonna give you some tips about it.
Yeah, definitely connect us. I'm all about making sure my fellow Sycamores are making it through.
There you go. There you go. We love it. We love it. So now you're into the program. You have transitioned finally out of Oklahoma into Indiana. You're in the program. What were some shocking parts of the program that really shocked you once you got in there? What were some things that was like, maybe I can't do this, maybe I can do this? What were some of those things?
Yeah. So first, I want to say that the transition to the program, I think a couple of the reasons why I decided to go with Indiana State in particular was the hybrid format. And so I knew at that point I was very much into growing professionally. And I knew that, I was working at one place, I could be working in another one in 6 months. And so for me, having the flexibility to complete a program, but come to campus 2 or 3 times a semester for cohort weekends, and be engaged in that type of way. I wanted a reputable program, and it gave me that level of flexibility. Additionally, and probably most importantly, I knew that this program was being led by 2 Black women who were extremely known in the field, respected. And for me, it was important to be under their mentorship and be in a program that really had, higher ed focus, but also like having conversations about social justice and what those things mean. And so that's another reason why I decided to choose this program. Lots of challenges. And I heard a lot from the cohort above us about some of the challenges that we should anticipate when we think about, the amount of time that you're going to have to invest in the program and missing out on important milestones of sort because you're going to be engulfed in this program. But yeah, I had a lot of challenges throughout the program. I think some of the ones that stood out for me were, traveling back and forth to Terre Haute for cohort weekends in the midst of me changing jobs a couple of times, and just managing, like having to have conversations with my supervisors about like this doctoral program is something that's important to me, and I plan to continue in it no matter what role I have. And so I think like having those conversations was important. And I think also just finding my voice as a scholar was something that was challenging. And I'm somebody who comes in and wants to be authentic. And I know that for me, one thing that was really important was voice and showing up as I am in all of my colloquialisms. And having to stand firm in that while also understanding how challenging academia can be, and how challenging it can be for Black folks in the way that we talk sometimes is not considered academic. And so I definitely had some challenges on that end that brought us some imposter syndrome. And I think for me, what was important was one, falling back on my faith and understanding who I was and how I got to this space. And then secondly, I think my cohort, like having people to rely on who reminded me that like my voice is needed. I represent folks who have been told for so long that there's no space for them in the academy. And so those things I think really pushed me to move past the feelings of being an imposter and recognize that no one was going to take what I knew that I wanted from me.
I love it. Absolutely love it. We appreciate the good doctor to be Dr. Pandilla. We appreciate you tuning in, and we appreciate the good Dr. Johnson. Just amazing. We appreciate the love. I'm telling you, watching the right show, because we're going to get into some more work that Delta Sigma Theta did to help out this brother to get through the program. So we're going to jump right into it. The finish line, getting that dissertation done. What was it like? What were the struggles you came into? How did you get it done?
Oh man, finish line. I think I'm still in a honeymoon phase at this point, just being a little over a year removed from graduating. For me, it was So I began dissertating right as COVID hit. And so a lot of the norms, like visiting campus, so my study was qualitative focused, and I had all the plans to go to these different institutions and do participant recruitment and interview students on campus. And then COVID hit, and it's like you had to make a pivot and figure out like what does research look like, um, you know, with what we had going on in the world.
Yeah.
And so I think being away, physically away from these institutions, I ran into challenges with recruiting participants, and having to like utilize untraditional ways of reaching out to students through social media. And really for me, the crux of my research, my dissertation is titled We Are Black Excellence, the experiences of academically gifted African American men at HBCUs.
Nice.
And so for me, it was finding honors programs at different institutions and looking for student leaders in different ways. So really, getting to the finish line, getting my participants was a challenge. And I think additionally, not being on campus physically, you just can't pop up to your chair and say, "Hey, I need assistance." So
Okay.
coordinating schedules and working with assistants and finding time to get the mentorship that I needed was really important. And I think one of the things that was really powerful that I think my chair did for me was recommend that I participate in ASH, the mentor protege program. And what that gave me was someone from outside of the program who was unbiased, who kind of helped me walk through finishing up the dissertation.
Yeah.
And so like having additional levels of support to push me to finish, I think was really, really helpful.
That's epic. That's epic. So now that you are done getting the participants, you're starting to write up these chapters. What was your like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I don't know if this is gonna happen. And then what was that thing that you pushed through that you said, I think I can do this. I know I can do this.
Yeah. So I would say there were numerous moments throughout my journey where I had to ask myself, like, could I finish? And I think one of the biggest challenges that I faced was during comps. So our comps model was, we had a written comp. So we got questions. We were tasked with providing responses using all of the coursework that we've done. So I did my comps. I submitted my written portion, and I pulled up to Terre Haute to defend the written portion of the comps. And I think for me, I did not prepare in the way that I needed to. And so I remember getting hit with questions left and right about coursework and being prepared. And I was not prepared for that moment. And I was the only person in my cohort who did not pass comps initially. And so like I was tasked with going back and doing some additional work. And I remember the drive is about 2.5 hours, but I remember getting in the car, being extremely disappointed with myself, and honestly like crying all the way back to St. Louis. It was, for me, I was just like, I'm internally embarrassed. People know I took comps. They knew that I was defending. So there's an expectation from family, from friends. And that was really tough for me. And I think like having to get back home, sit with that, and then remotivate myself to do what I needed to do to persist was really big. And so that was definitely a moment that was extremely challenging for me.
Yeah. We appreciate the folks chiming in. Dr. Whitty, you always with us, my brother. We appreciate you so much for chiming in. And we appreciate the work you're doing, Dr. Johnson, helping more folks get to the doctor finish line. That is the most important thing. This is the Doc Chat once again with your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT. And I got Dr. Jonathan Solomon, he is dropping these dimes today because he's giving y'all the real facts of what it is to get this dissertation and doctorate degree done. So finally, you could see the light. You could start to see the light at the finish line. What was it finally getting to that dissertation table and defending that made it just so extra special?
Oh man. Wow.
So
So
I had to remind you, your
yeah.
frat, when we got to kind of this part, Dr. Aaron Slocum, when he was on my show a few months ago, he started crying. Like he was like, "Oh my God." It was just such a relief. It's such a big thing. So hey, I'm telling you, what was that moment like?
Man, I don't know if I like fully have the words to like to capture like what that moment was for me emotionally. I think I'm someone who's not super reflective, but I task myself with being reflective in a moment, like slowing down. I know that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of preparation that I want to make to be able to make sure I'm ready for that moment, and then I can celebrate that moment. But yeah, I like took some breaths, like, and tried to think about the journey, thinking about like what it means to be the first in my family to get a doctorate degree.
Yeah.
What it means to come from two parents who didn't graduate from high school, come from extreme poverty and having went through foster care and all of these like challenges that were set up for me to not be successful, to have reached this milestone, this level of education. And sitting with that was incredibly heavy. I think additionally, having my 86-year-old dad on Zoom watching me defend my dissertation.
Wow.
And like teaching him how to mute and unmute and having him able to say some words was powerful. I think the moments before I actually defended, with my wife pushing me to do defense trial runs and recording me and making me go back and make sure that I perfected it in the way that I wanted to. I think all of those moments were really big for me. So it was a huge weight lifted after my committee came back into the room and announced me as Dr. Solomon. But I knew I also had some work to do. I had some edits to make.
That's right.
So I was on an incredible high, but I couldn't be too high until my edits were submitted and it ran through the dean's office and I got final approvals. I think for me, the moment where I knew that it was all done was actually participating in commencement and walking across the stage, celebrating with folks on campus, and actually receiving that bounded version of my dissertation.
Which you got to pull it out. Where's it at? Go get it. Go get it.
Here we go.
That's it. That's
receiving a book and seeing my name on something like this, I think it's just reminders of like, wow, it was all worth it. This is something that no one can ever take away from me or my family. That I was inspired by folks during my journey and look forward to being that for others who are trying to figure out what their next step is and how do they get to this milestone.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
definitely honeymooning.
I think a lot of us are, and we will for a long time, when you know what you had to go through to get that thing done. I'm telling you truly, it's just you can't even put it in words. You cannot even put it into words. I mean, it's amazing. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hey, they appreciate you for keeping it real. That's what we do on the Doc Chat, because we want to make sure others know that they can make it happen. And even Dr. Roz had a good question real quick, and kind of wanted to put this up here. You remember you woke up the next day? Like, how did it feel? That's a good question. How did it feel after you knew, finally, I defended?
Wow. So, first off, I got a very good nap. And so, that was the first thing. And the next day, I mean, obviously my wife is the first one to good morning, Dr. Solomon.
Nice.
And
That's beautiful.
for me, it was getting used to hearing that. You know, it was just like, is this real? Like, did I really do this? Did I really accomplish this? And still getting used to folks calling me Dr. Solomon for whatever reason. It's almost like a reminder that like I've actually done something. But yeah, I woke up feeling incredible weight off of me.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, still had to do some edits. But I knew the big part of the work had been done. That the challenges didn't stop me. Man, I felt like a kid going to Disneyland.
It's epic right there. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. Man, we are having a good time here on the Doc Chat tonight with Dr. Jonathan Solomon. And you all know what time it is. It's time to show what the beauty of that finish line looks like. So let me get these up real quick. Let's see here. Come on. Give me 1 second. There he is, right there. So, like you said, you got to commencement. You got to that finish line. What was that day like? Getting to that finish line, putting on that robe, getting hooded. What was that day like?
Yeah. So for me, it was a little bit of a trip down memory lane, like taking the drive back to Terre Haute to participate in commencement, having my wife, my mother and father-in-law, my brother and sister-in-law, niece and nephew there to celebrate with me. It was remarkable. And, going into the gym, seeing my name on a piece of paper on my seat that said Dr. Jonathan Solomon and
Wow.
PhD, celebrating with my cohort mates, Lucindy, who we graduated at the same time, which is great. We knew each other before joining the program, and actually, my first year in the program during cohort weekend, she actually let me stay at her apartment, and so she just gave me the apartment so that I could, better afford the journey. It was, an expensive journey, and so flying in from Oklahoma to Indiana, like seeing us, graduate at the same time and celebrate that moment was huge. But yeah, I was just overwhelmed with emotion. And I think also one of the things that was really powerful, I believe we did graduation with all recipients of doctoral degrees and master's degrees at the same time.
Yeah.
And on that day, I was the only Black male to graduate with a PhD. And so that was huge for me, being at Indiana State and accomplishing that and being able to be hooded by my chair, Dr. Mary Howard Hamilton. And additionally, I think standing tall with my regalia on and walking past like some of the Black folks who were receiving their master's degrees and remembering what it felt like when I was in that chair and admiring those folks. I'm just like, I know what I had to go through. I can't imagine what they had to go through. And connecting with some of the students who were receiving master's degrees. I hope that, those type of moments plant seeds for folks who may be interested in pursuing a doctoral degree, seeing someone who looks like them accomplishing just that. And I would say another thing that we did, so we had commencement and the Black congratulatory or Black graduation on the same day. And so I left regular commencement and went right with my people. And we had a great time. We swag surfed, we celebrated. It was just a different vibe, but there was nothing like being celebrated by a room of Black folks. And Dr. Mary Howard Hamilton really hyping us up and talking about the importance of the work that we had done and what it means to have folks who look like us who have received these degrees.
Yeah, the legend, Dr. Mary Howard Hamilton. I mean, just royalty. And to get hooded by her, I know it just had to be everything. Just had to be.
Truly.
Who all was on your committee?
Yeah, so Dr. Mary Howard Hamilton was my chair.
Okay.
And I had Dr. Amy French, who's now at Bowling Green, but she was at that time a member of the Indiana State team, and so she was a part of my committee. And then my fraternity brother, Dr. Reginald Blockett, at the time he was at Grand Valley State in Michigan, and now he's at Auburn. And so that was the power team, and they showed love. They they knew how to deliver the message that needed to be delivered, but they didn't play.
I know they did.
They tore me up, and I appreciate it because I knew that not only was I representing myself, my scholarship was also going to be representing them in the program.
That's right. That's right. They're showing you mad love here. We appreciate it. Everybody coming in, showing the love to this great brother. I'm telling you. And he talked about it, being that representation, putting on that robe after you did all the work. Hey, you deserve all that love. You deserve those flowers, and you deserve all that love right now because you did that thing. And of course, I had to put a picture of the wife here. You even put the tam on her. Tell me why you put the tam on her.
Listen, it takes a village. And I stand on the shoulders of so many people who have supported me in many different ways to get to that moment. And I think no one, if you're married, no one sees you more intimately than your partner. And so, like, she saw the struggles, she saw the celebrations. She pushed me to prepare in ways that I didn't want to. And I think she sacrificed time and events that we could have went to and all of those things so that I could finish. And I remember as we were getting married, she was like, all right, now we're going to put a timeline on this degree. It needs to be finished because I don't want this thing holding over either one of our heads. Yeah. And so for me to honor her and the sacrifices that she made for me to be able to be hooded in this way, and the commitment to this work, I definitely had to put it on her head because she's a part of this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. These folks right here said hello to you. They wanted to make sure they shouted you out. They are in New York City right now. Got a surprise trip from his wife, woman to Sigma Theta. Shout out to Azizi, and took him to see Michael Jackson, the show, the musical in New York City. So he definitely wanted to show you some love because he wanted to be here. He was so hurt, but I was like, brother, you don't miss those moments with the wife. You don't miss it. I said, the doc chat will be here when you get back. So
and these folks were a part of the tribe. While I was in Terre Haute, I remember going to their house and getting love in that type of way and support throughout the program. And so definitely appreciate that. And also just want to throw the plug in there. It's always good to see I'm a Sigma brother married to a Delta. My wife is also a member of Delta Sigma.
Oh, man, I don't even think I do that. That's some beautiful stuff right there. Yeah, I know that connection runs deep right there. Absolutely runs deep. That's epic. That's epic. Once again, this is the Doc Chat. We only a half hour in. We got a half hour to go because we having a lot of fun here. And I'm telling you, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, all the great comments, showing this great brother some love. We appreciate it. So now, done with the doctorate, tell me about your career because you did not go the professor route. What are you up to now?
Yeah. So initially when I knew that I wanted to pursue the doctorate degree, I had all aspirations of becoming an HBCU president. And so that was something that was important to me. I was engaged in those spaces. I was on that trajectory. And I think throughout the program, even outside of the program, I was beginning to put myself in positions and professional networks that I was able to better understand what that level of leadership in higher education looked like, and what the commitment and giving of yourself looked like. I think over time, my view on what I wanted to do shifted a little bit. Being in a program from start to finish about 5 years, there was a time when I considered full-time professorship. But I knew that I was also like very interested on the administrative side, being able to mentor students, particularly Black male students. And I think the work that I was engaged in at the time, working at Washington University in St. Louis, or WashU, leading a scholarship program for Black students, it felt very right. And so I definitely had some transitions during my program, but right now I am working full time in the ed tech space. And so during COVID, I was approached about an opportunity to consult for an ed tech startup who really wanted to expand their reach and support to HBCUs. And they wanted to talk to someone who was passionate about the space. And I had a friend in Detroit who told the CEO about my dissertation. And we connected and we talked and found some synergy. And I began doing some consulting, making sure that their language was inclusive and understanding of the HBCU space. That turned into an opportunity for a full-time role, doing some of that support with institutions as a partner success manager. And so I came on to my role with Mainstay, an EdTech company, full-time back in November of 2021. And since then have been supporting institutions and teams at different universities around their student communication strategy. Additionally, I think deciding to lead traditional higher ed afforded me a couple different opportunities. It afforded me the opportunity to work from home. It also gave me a different level of work-life balance. And I've definitely enjoyed that. And I think out of that gave me the headspace to create, with my wife, our business, which is Strategize with Solomon. And that is a educational consulting firm that allows me and my wife to work with different organizations, institutions, grassroots community organizations around youth development work, diversity, equity, inclusion work, just really helping institutions and organizations strategize around how they support Black and Brown students, youth, any folks that they're engaged with. And so being able to have the room in my brain to develop at that level and develop at scale and take some of the things that I'm passionate about, mentorship and youth development, those types of things into a business has really been something that's been powerful for us.
What's been the highlight of launching this business with your wife so far? Because that's incredible. And I mean, of course, like I said, they're showing you mad love out here, the mad love to you and your wife, that's for sure. And I will say, as far as the doc chat, the Deltas do represent pretty hard on this forum. So I appreciate that. So what's been the highlight of the work so far that you all have done creating this incredible business?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. There's been an incredible synergy between my wife and I when it comes to this business. And so I knew initially that, this would be a passion area for me, and I was interested in working in doing this work. I had been doing some consulting before, but I wanted to formalize it in a different type of way. My wife professionally has been working with the government for a number of years, and her passions lie in education and training and learning and development and those types of things. And so while she was completing some educational opportunities in learning and development and creating content, I was also like doing some of the work to lay the foundation for the business. And us coming together and like brainstorming around different topics we could develop, brainstorming around content. I might put together a draft and share with my wife, and she's just like, "Oh, I also think that this, and this would elevate it to another level." And like having that type of having that added energy in our relationship, I think has been really incredible and powerful. And so I think the highlight is just the energy that we have together when we are thinking about like how to expand this and who we're working with and how do we support students, how do we support youth in the city of St. Louis, and having that together has really been a highlight.
That's awesome. And question from Dr. Rise, I think is good. Working education as far as full time, you got your full time, business. Where do you get the drive to do this work? I mean, and even somebody like me, we know sometimes it may not be paying the bills as much as you would want, or you got a doctorate degree, you could go somewhere else, you could do something else. What keeps you driving education so hard?
Yeah. So my drive in education actually started very early on. And so I talked a little bit about my background and some of the challenges growing up. I attended over 30 schools before going to college.
30 schools?
30 schools between Ohio, Minnesota, Michigan, Georgia, California. Moved around a ton as a kid.
Military family or?
Not military family. I think I told folks back then it was a military family, but just had some challenges. And so some of it was moving around with different family members, trying out different places. And so for me, as a kid experiencing, extreme poverty and foster care and some of those things, I felt like school was my refuge. And so I knew that academics were really important to me. Learning was something that was really important to me. School was a place where I could fake the funk, where folks didn't have to know what I was experiencing at home. It was a consistent meal for me. And I had really great teachers who spoke life into me. And so during times that were challenging, I had teachers telling me how smart I was, like how capable I was, how I could use education to escape poverty and those types of things. Was always super interested in learning. I used to leave school and go to the library for the rest of the day and read books, those types of things. And so for me, the seed was planted very early on, like how powerful learning and education could be. And so I continued that drive into college at Langston. I think going to an HBCU, coming from California at that point to Langston, Oklahoma, and engaging in that institution, being mentored. I think I had a very traditional experience. It was professors. You're not showing up to class, they're knocking on the door. It was coaches. I went to college on a football scholarship. And so it was coaches allowing me to borrow their car to get what I needed, to drive 45 minutes to Oklahoma City to make sure that I was being taken care of.
Wow.
I think all of like those transformational experiences, both inside and outside of the classroom, for me, helped me better understand like how transformational education could be. Mm-hmm. And so when I started thinking about like what I wanted to do in my life and what type of impact I wanted to make, how I wanted to give back to others in the ways that had been given to me, I knew that education could definitely be that route, because where else are folks going away from home for the first time, figuring out their own identities, figuring out what they really care about, what they're passionate about. There's so much opportunity to make an impression, especially in higher ed, but also, in high school. And I knew that was a space that I really wanted to be in, and I felt called to.
Awesome. We appreciate all the comments. I'm telling you, Dr. McKenry, we appreciate you tuning in, and shout out to the education coaches as well. See the need of the students. And Jasmine, we appreciate you so much as well for tuning in there. We appreciate that. Hey, this is the Doc Chat. This is the real talk, because we got to stay in this bubble right here. We got to stay in this bubble, because Dr. McKenry wants to shout out to track coach. Who you want to shout out today, Dr. Solomon? Who do you want to look back and say, man, if it wasn't probably for them? I know, as we rep in Cleveland right here, shout out to LeBron. Where would you be without maybe 2 or 3 people if you could shout them out right now?
Man, so I know this is going to sound cliche. I want to shout out both of my parents, mom and dad. You know, for me, it was them reminding me like how capable I am, and even though like they had not experienced college, they had not experienced education outside of high school. It was them doing whatever they could to support me along the journey, encouraging me, being a listening ear, and celebrating me. I especially in this season of life, I'm just so appreciative of the ways that my parents celebrate me, and so I think that they've been incredible along this journey, and that is something that has truly been, needed. I think I've celebrated my wife. I won't stop celebrating her. And so
Do that. Keep celebrating.
Wouldn't be here without her. And I think countless mentors for me, like folks who were ready to get on a call and support, who sent encouraging messages. I remember before my dissertation proposal defense, I reached out to a couple of mentors because at that point I was nervous. I had not passed my defense for my comps. Right. And this was the first defense afterwards. And so I had to get it right. And there were folks who jumped on and did a pre-defense with me and gave me encouragement and challenged me on some things and just got me ready. And so there were a couple doctors at that point who did that for me. And so that level of mentorship and pouring into, I think, was really important along my journey and has helped me get to where I am right now today.
That's awesome. Showing them mad love. We appreciate it. Dr. McKinney, of course, this is a doc chat. Of course, we're showing you love. We're going to see you in a few weeks. Them DMPs of color going to be on here. We cannot wait. And she already knows that those mentors are the key. They truly are the key. And everybody knows them day ones. Hey, you got to show love to them because they are there with you. We are here on the doc chat. Dr. Jonathan Solomon. He's showing that love. You got to show love to him and the brothers. Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. That's 1914 Folks Howard University. You better act like you know because them boys is wild. Them are some wild boys. I'm telling you.
Act like you know.
So as we go, looking to wrap up, something we always like to do. This is your time. 2 or 3 key things. Say there's a doctorate student here. Say there's somebody that's watching that's working with doctorate students. What would you tell the next generation of doctors, maybe even something that you didn't know going into it, that this is what you should really know before you really get on this doctorate journey?
Yeah. So couple of points I think I learned throughout the journey that definitely stood out that I feel like folks should definitely take note of. One, find your tribe. Find your tribe, whether these be folks in your program, whether they be folks in a group me or a Facebook group, whether they be family members, folks that you can really lean on, you can vent to. I think for me that was critical. And so I had a couple of folks in my cohort. We actually were nicknamed MPOC, MPOC. Minoritized people of color, and it was a group of Black folks in my cohort. We actually got that term from Dr. LaWanda Ward, who was an instructor at ISU during our time, and then went on to Penn State.
Okay. And
so I spent a lot of time with those folks. We did a lot of studying together. We supported each other through dissertations. And like I said, I noted that Lucindy let me stay in her crib the first year. Second year, Dr. Bryce Yates let me stay at his crib. And so it was that level of support and encouragement and being able to vent to. So I think that was really important. So it was some cross mentorship that happened there. Secondly, I think find the professional networks in whatever field that you're looking for. And see what type of resources and supports they offer. And so for me, it was the mentor protege program through ASH that connected me with Dr. T. Smith, who is also at Auburn right now, who literally walked me through like how to get to the finish line and talked about the importance of celebrating milestones and just all of those like intricacies to get you to the finish line. I only was able to connect with him because of that program. And so I'm grateful that my chair pushed me to invest in that type of program.
Nice.
So yeah, I think that that's a couple of things that I think that are really important. It's all about community. It's all about support and being able to vent and also celebrate with some of the same people.
Nice. And talk about that community a little deeper, especially in the professional realm. You brought out some heavy hitter organizations. What organizations should doctorate students look to get into, especially if you're in the doctorate degree program or interested in going to doctorate degree? That will motivate you, because I already know some myself going to those ACPAs and NASPAs, but what are some other ones out there that people should really keep their eyes on?
Yeah, so if you identify as Black, I think that there is a lot of great work being done by organizations like Black male PhDs and Black women PhDs. I know that those are organizations that, although fairly young, are doing a lot of great work. I'm actually on the leadership team for Black male PhDs, and so we got some things in the work, and so just be on the lookout. Those are organizations that I found on Instagram, and so I saw that they were highlighting other Black folks who had received their doctoral degrees, and I saw that they also offered other opportunities, like whether it be group me's or Discord channels or even summits that were geared towards doctoral students. And so those are definitely organizations I would push for. And I know I talked about ASH. For those who are interested in the study of higher education, I think that is a great organization, a pretty well-known organization that a lot of folks are engaged in. For me, being a part of those larger organizations, but also finding my community within is important. And so I knew that I wanted to find groups that catered a little bit more towards the Black experience. And so within those organizations, engaging in those types of spaces, finding that type of mentorship, was really important to me. So those are just a couple off the top of my head that I can think of that were helpful in my journey that I believe others could also find helpful as well.
Okay. I'm trying to see if I can bring those up real quick, because talk about Black male PhDs real quick and the work you are doing. I was highlighted on there. I was hyped. Like, I was like, man, mama made it. Like, this is epic. Tell me about the work that they are doing, especially them and Black, I think it's Black women PhDs. I think.
Yeah.
Tell me about the work they're doing.
Yeah, so Black Male PhDs was founded and created by Dr. Christopher Spence, who is also a member of Phi Beta Sigma. And so he is really with the idea of like, how do we broadcast and showcase Black men who have completed their doctoral degree or are on the journey to completing their doctoral degree. And really through that, wanting to make sure that the world knows that there are people who look like them. And so it really started off as like an opportunity to showcase folks. And I think that we are developing into something even greater. And so right now we have a group me of other folks who are in the process or have completed. And we're going to continue to grow that. And I think additionally, we're already thinking about opportunities to expand it. And so like, how are we, potentially getting folks together to support each other? And how do we leverage the work that Black males who have doctorate degrees have done to really mentor the next generation of folks and get folks into and through programs. And so there's a lot of work that's being done on the back end right now. We're going to announce some things soon, but I would definitely say engaging in that type of way. And if you're wanting to join the group chat, I would say just DM me the page and Chris will definitely get you in there.
Epic, epic. And touch a little bit on Ash.
Yeah, so Ash is pretty well known in the higher education space for folks who do research, are interested in research around higher education, the vastness of higher education. And so they hold the annual conference, and I think there's some other events that they're holding as well that bring folks together. It looks like the next conference is in Minneapolis. Shout out to Minnesota. I lived there for 7 years. Definitely got to shout out my Minnesota connects. My family still lives. Some of my family still lives in Minnesota. But it's a great conference for folks who are interested in research. If you want to present your research, this is a great place to go, whether it be poster boards or presentations or submitting your dissertation for dissertation of the year, like all different types of opportunities just to connect scholars in that way. Ash is a great space for that.
Definitely a great space. And before we wrap up, this brother may not remember, but we were in the same space. Do you remember where that was and when that was?
Uh-oh. I do not remember.
How about this? Give me a second. Boom, boom, boom. It's coming, folks. Be patient with us.
I'm a little nervous now. Oh, wow.
Where was this? Where was this?
This was in Indianapolis.
Correct. The
Here in AABHE. So, wow. I didn't even realize. There I go in the back, representing my fraternity. And this was, again, the only reason why I knew about this organization and participated in this particular conference was Dr. Mary Howard Hamilton, Dr. Candace Hinton, pushing folks in the program to present their research. And I was at a very early stages in my research and got some really good feedback from folks when presenting with a couple other folks in the Indiana State University program. So we had a good time in Indianapolis.
Sure did. And we ate and we packed that room, all these Black scholars and leaders. Let me tell you, this touched my heart so much, especially being from the state of Indiana, because Ivy Tech was in the room, IU Bloomington was in the room, Indiana State was in the room, Purdue University was in the room. I mean, anybody Black higher ed was in the room, and we had an incredible time. So, yep, I'm telling you, there are some amazing opportunities for folks to feel connected. And I think I saw somebody put, man, I felt lonely in my journey, or I felt lonely, going through my journey. You don't have to feel like that. Listen to Dr. Solomon here. There are incredible ways to get connected with folks that look just like you, for sure. Well, we are wrapping up. Hey, hours always go by quick. Tell folks where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me in a couple of different places. First, my website, which is drjonathansolomon.com. That has a little bit more information about me personally, but also Strategize with Solomon as an organization. I can be found on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with folks and continue the conversation there. And on social media, probably the one that I'm most active on is Instagram. And I can be found at Dr. period JSOLO, J Solo. And so that's the social media network that I'm probably most engaged on. And so happy to connect with people on there as well.
Epic. And he was solo tonight, but I'm telling you, he came through number one in our book, Dr. Jonathan Solomon. I have been waiting on this brother to get on the show, and we appreciate you taking the time. Hey, we appreciate y'all so much, my friend, Dr. Trent. I appreciate you, my guy. I appreciate you. I'm telling you. And Dr. Ross, this is what we do, man. This is what we do on the Doc Chat. We bring the truth for everybody that tuned in. Thank y'all so much. We are going to continue to roll with the Doc Chat. We have some great stuff in store. I need to connect with you all and those Black male PhDs, because we are looking to do the Doc Chat social and live show in Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and in Dallas in October. And brother, since you near St. Louis, we might have to get St. Louis on the map come the spring.
Come on down to the middle of it all. You got to come to St. Louis.
I'm telling you. So y'all get ready. The Doc Chat is rolling. This is a movement, and we thank God for you all. So until next time on the Doc Chat, this is your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT, Dr. Jonathan Solomon. Thank you so much, and thank you to your wife for giving us some time. I appreciate her as well. This is awesome. We thank y'all so much. Until next time, everybody, we say peace out.